Welcome to Bayou Time. I'm Jacob DeGate, and happy holidays to everybody out there, and Merry Christmas. We also have joining us today on the set First Lieutenant Blake Tabor with the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office. Thank you very much for joining us,
Lieutenant. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, it is the holiday season time. Of course, that always brings a lot of parties, and unfortunately, a lot, sometimes it can lead to a lot of people getting behind the wheel impaired. Can you tell us some things that the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office are doing to combat that?
Sure. So starting tonight, we'll be conducting a DWI checkpoint within the city limits of Houma. That will be spearheaded by the Houma Police Department, but of course we will be there to service the need because there is definitely a need in our area for that. That will take place within the city limits of Houma. Of course, we're not revealing an actual location of that, but that will take place tonight. And of course, anytime we deal with these DWI checkpoints, we're funded, and this is federally funded and state funded resources that we use for the commission and finding these DWI violations, which are so prevalent in our community. That's specifically funded by the Louisiana Highway Safety Commission through the state. And so, we use those resources to the best of our ability to remove impaired drivers from our streets.
Okay, and certainly that you come across one, you just simply stop for it, and they, talk with the officers, and then is it a breathalyzer that usually goes on?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of components to that. So, first, again, we understand that there are more non-impaired drivers than there are impaired. We always urge people to just be cooperative. We understand that it could be an inconvenience for you if you are, in fact, not impaired. But there's no way for us to determine who is impaired and who's not impaired without speaking to the people and speaking to drivers. So if you find yourself involved in a DWI checkpoint, again, just do your best to be patient. The officers will have you on your way in a short period of time.
That sounds good. And of course, the sheriff's office is always patrolling and on the lookout for things that are a suspect. Whether it's drinking or driving or people driving erratically. I saw last week that you had a press release about a traffic stop that led to an arrest. Can you detail a little bit about that?
Sure. So I'm sure there are a large group of people in Terrebonne Parish that are familiar with the traffic construction that's going on in the Robinson Canal area in Cocodrie. They're doing a big summit there to make sure that the roadways are getting addressed and cleared. I know that's a hot topic among Terrebonne Parish with the roadways, or some of them that are in the conditions that they're in. So again, because of that, we saw that we were going to have some traffic related issues as far as response times to those particular areas. So we certainly made some changes to our patrol tactics, and we put additional resources in those areas specifically for that reason. So on December 19th, as a result of those additional patrol resources, we had a water patrol officer who was actually patrolling in a vehicle on the roadway in the area of Robinson Canal and Cocodrie. He ultimately saw a vehicle that was traveling at an extremely high rate of speed in the Bayou Sally Road area. He immediately gained unit placement behind that vehicle and pursued it. That vehicle did not stop. It continued to drive on. Of course, we got some additional resources in the area of Grand Caillou Road and Bayou Sally, which we were able to quickly get that vehicle stopped. Once they came into contact with that driver, he was quickly identified as Terry Paul Nakan Jr. He's a 26-year-old male. You see him photographed here. Once we were able to stop and make contact with him, he became somewhat cooperative. He did admit to the violation. He did admit to officers that he was not in possession of a driver's license at the time. Of course, as we continue our road stop investigation, we began to see some factors that were leading us towards the possibility of him being under the influence of drugs or having some type of illegal narcotics with him. And through that resource and through that investigation, they actually found that Mr. Nakan was concealing some drugs within his mouth. That could be a very dangerous situation in and of itself. But again, that evidence was able to be recovered. And we were able to place him under arrest. During that traffic stop, he was taken into custody for a multitude of reasons, but some of the charges he was incarcerated for was possession of a CDS-2, possession of drug paraphernalia, reckless operation of a motor vehicle, driver must be licensed, obstruction of justice, and also flight from an officer. At the time of the press release, he was incarcerated on a $15,000 bond, and it's my understanding that he is still incarcerated on those charges. And so that's where he remains.
Okay. Well, it's lucky that that turned out okay with arrest made. I know Bayou Sally Road is certainly a dangerous road with all those twists and turns out there. And if he was traveling at a high rate of speed, of course, that's dangerous for everybody involved, the officers as well. So it's a good thing that came to a quick resolution and one that was at least peaceful at the end.
Absolutely. And, and piggybacking off of what we talked about with the DWI checkpoint, anytime we talk about these types of violations, people automatically assume that it's just alcohol. Mm-hmm. The most important thing to remember is that people can be arrested for DWI under the influence of an illegal narcotic as well.
Yeah, and that narcotic can vary, and it can be, marijuana. A lot of people don't think about, marijuana because, more and more becoming legal. Now you have prescriptions, but they don't think about the driving on it and the impact that can have. And you can also get a DWI for that as well.
Absolutely. And despite the legalization in whatever stage, your particular state or jurisdiction is in, at no point in time does that give you the right to get behind a wheel and operate a vehicle.
Okay. Well, hopefully, the sheriff's office will continue doing good work, keep impaired drivers off the road, and, all the viewers out there can do their own part as well in making sure if they see anybody, within their family or friends trying to drive, make sure you prevent that from happening.
Absolutely.
All right. We do need to take a quick break, but we'll be back with more right here on Bayou Time. Stay tuned.